And wash me over until my well runs dry. Send all your sins all over me, baby, baby,
Hey everyone, I'm back again with another tutorial. So today's video is going to be about how to attach balloons to marquee letters. So as you guys have seen in previous videos, I do actually make marquees myself, but like I mentioned in the other video, if you have not watched that, go ahead and do so. It was a really good video. It was basically showing you how to make these letters. But I explained that when it's an outdoor event, I do not use my own letters. I try to use these steel letters from Alphalit. So Alphalit is actually a franchise, so they kind of have them in every city. So per usual, I transported my balloons already in like mini garlands. So the concept that I had for this specific design was that I wanted it to be like kind of like a pyramid style. I wanted the balloons to come over and then come down on the sides and then have like two little triangle points on the bottom, but not necessarily a triangle point on the top. So what I'm doing here is I'm attaching the balloons to the floor as well as to the base of the letters. So these letters actually have a steel backing that's keeping them up, and that's what I was attaching the balloons to. So as you can see, Amari is here helping me again with bringing out the garlands. I don't bring out everything at once because it is outdoor and I don't want anything to fly into the pool or onto the grass because I don't want my balloons to pop. But what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to get the base shape of the garland. So when it comes to building any sort of balloon structure, there's always going to be a base. And the reason why the base is so important to like in this specific installation is because without the base, there's going to be a lot of gaps. And I didn't want there to be like too much exposure in the middle or around the letters because that wasn't the design that I was going for. But then you also don't want to waste too much balloon, so you want to make sure you're getting the shape correctly initially. So, oh, that was my little helper, Giovanni. So I actually did his party a couple months ago. This client is like a friend that we've had. Like we kind of know like a good amount of people in their family. So she's actually a planner and this is her gender reveal, so she asked me to do the balloons and I was so elated. But that, I think that's her nephew, and he is the sweetest little boy ever. He's just hilarious because he has a big personality, so he was helping me the whole time, so you'll see him pop in and out the video. But anyways, back to the actual tutorial. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking the balloons and I'm building it on to the base that I created. So the thing is, with these marquees, the balloons will keep flying to the back if you don't hoist them properly frontwards. So even though there's an opening in the back that you could obviously put the command hooks, you have to actually find a way to attach them frontwards. So you can do that with binder clips. You can do that with the command hooks. The only thing is with the sticky clear command hooks, you would want to put blue tape because you will damage the letters if you do not, because it's really hard to get those clear command tapes off. So the reason why you want to put them forward is because the wind is going to keep pushing the balloons back, and there's not actually any structure behind the balloons, so you want to make sure that you're continuously attaching them frontwards and not pulling them to the back, because all it's going to make you do is waste balloons. So I did blow up 2 jumbo balloons that I added in right there, and I did that from before. But honestly, now that I look back at the design, I wish I just kind of used all 11-inch balloons. I used 11 and 16 and then put some jumbos in it. I wish I just put majority 11 and then of course the 5-inch as well, and then put the jumbos. And the reason for that is because structure wise, it's very hard to control what you're doing when you put the 16-inch balloons inside. Yes, they do look good and they do take up more space, but sometimes they could be a little bit more of a hassle than anything. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting in the 5-inch, and what I'm doing is taking the 5-inch, and the 5-inch cluster is attached to the 260 on one end, and then I'm taking it and wrapping it into the garland and then looping it through the letters and looping it around the letters. All that's doing is creating extra security to make sure the balloons are staying frontward. So then I was building out the base, like the bottom of it, and I was like, okay, let me check something to see really quick. I actually had a few balloons blown up that I was going to put behind the letters, but then I was like, why don't I just put 5-inch and fill it in? I've seen that before with other people doing that design, so I wanted to try it, and it actually came out super cute. So what I did was I took the 5-inch and I made like little mini garlands or clusters, you could call it, and I attached them to the base of the bigger balloons and put them in between the letters, so it was just sticking in there. You can use U dashes or like the glue strips as well, but to be honest, I think that the using the mini binder clips would honestly work best when it comes to doing anything with the marquees, just because as a vendor, like as a balloon vendor, you don't want people to not want you to install anything on their stuff. So damaging it is just not a hit. So I like to use things that, even though it's easier to use a certain product like a sticky command hook, it's just ethically better to use things like binder hooks. So when it comes to the letters, remember I said there was a railing behind it. So the reason why I did the railing is because, I mean, I was putting the balloons on the railing. It was because I noticed that the railing obviously is going to be sturdy, and it's so thin that I was able to take the neck of the 5-inch cluster and like loop it around one time. So it was making it really stuck. So that worked out really well. For this event, I blew up, I want to say maybe 30 sets of 4 per color, so 60 sets of 4 for the 5-inch, and that's just because I was iffy about doing the look of putting them in between, and I'm glad I did that because it actually came out looking very nice. So once I added all of those in, that's when I moved on to putting them in the actual garland. But I wasn't too worried about it because if you guys notice, when it comes to oxidized balloons, for whatever reason, even though there isn't a lot of 5-inch, the clusters still end up looking nice and really neat. I don't know why, but they just do. So I was putting them inside of the garland, but I was trying to prioritize putting them in between the letters at first. So the colors I'm using as well, it's Navy by Qualatex, and this is actually a combination of 2 pinks. Pink Standard by Qualatex, as well as Gemar Baby Pink. And that's because I could not find the balloons in time. I thought I had enough, and I guess I ended up using them for maybe a last minute job, like the ones I originally ordered. I'm not sure what happened, but it actually turned out perfect. So now I know that those 2 colors actually match pretty much exactly. So I was just in the corner blowing up an extra cluster, just because even though I had extra balloons, I wanted to keep a certain color scheme. It's only 2 colors in the garland, so I didn't want any one color to be too heavy. You have to be very careful when you're doing designs that are limited to 2 colors. So what I'm doing is I'm putting the 5-inch, but then I also took fishing line. Obviously you can't see from all the way back here, but I took fishing line and I tied it to one part of the marquee, and I just wrapped it all in between. So as the string was hanging, I was just wrapping it together, and what that was doing again was just pulling everything forward. The last thing you want to do is do all these balloons and then the balloons constantly be flipping back the entire time. So that's why I just keep trying to find different ways to hoist everything in there. So I get a lot of messages and DMs on TikTok and Instagram about pricing and like how I go about that. So I figured this would be the perfect video to discuss that. So obviously, like I said earlier in the video, the marquees are from Alphalet, so those are not my marquees. Sometimes if you want, this is just not something of my personal preference. You are able to source the letters or the item from the vendor and add on a finder's fee to the item and present the invoice to the client. I do not do that. I just feel like I would rather make my money off of things that I'm actually providing to the client, because you never really know with vendors, and you want that if something does go wrong with the vendor, you are able to release responsibility of it, right? So what I did was I had her source the letters. I want to say that totaled with the delivery, they charged her anywhere between $590 and $650, and that included the installation, the stand, and the letters, and obviously breakdown. But I feel like that was a really good price for the rental letters, and they hold up really well outdoor, so it is worth the splurge, right? So for the balloons, something like this, I think her total came out to about $750, and that's because of delivery. Obviously, I don't have to charge her for breakdown because I'm not coming back. So where I got that price from was, one, because there's two colors, right? Two standard colors. Obviously, if there was chrome or double stuff colors, that rate would increase. But these are just standard colors, number one. Number two, I kind of based it on feet. So the height of the letters, I want to say, are about like 40 inches. I think they're 40 inches or like 3 foot or 4 foot. I'm not sure. So really and truly, it's like 6 feet high. So you can do 6 feet one side, 6 feet another side, and then just say 6 feet across the top. You would get about 18 feet. And then obviously I added on additional to that, because not only are you adding in the feet, but you have to also charge for the volume. So the volume does make a difference. Here, Amari is bringing me a garland that I told him was in the car, and he told me he didn't see one, and then magically he found it at the end. But it's fine. It's not a big deal, but I just knew that there was more balloons in there. But anyways, back to pricing. So that's how I do it. I do not charge installation separately. I just kind of include that in delivery because it's not optional. Like delivery and installation are not optional, so I just leave that into one price. But I feel like $750 for a design like this is really good. You guys can comment and let me know if that's over or under what people charge in your area. Like I said, this is Miami, but everything is more expensive here. But this is a vendor friend that I have that I feel like I will charge her less as long as that's possible. So obviously when it comes to like, putting in the 5-inch, things like that are an extra fee, but of course that was not charged to her because that's just something I wanted to do for her on my own. She didn't ask me that. And actually the design that she asked me for wasn't even this. So I didn't want to overcharge her for something that she didn't even ask me for, just because it was a preference for my look. So you guys can let me know in the comments if that's something you guys do or if I'm crazy. Either which way, I'm open to the commentary. But yeah, so here's the final look of the installation. I think it came out beautiful, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Finished. She's putting all the table out. So that came out. I'm obsessed with it. I actually been dying to do this setup, and I never got to. And I am obsessed with how it looks. I'm glad I put all the little 5-inch. He actually was the one that told me to put them in there. I did not. I was like iffy, and I was like, you know what? It actually looks really cute. So I'm happy with how it came out. Amari's helping. He's working hard.